If you're just now joining us, welcome to our story. We've been spending the past week exploring Alaska in a rental overland rig provided by Alaska Overlander. In the previous episode, we were treated to a behind-the-scenes look at the Team Petite Alaskan sled dog team, picked up a sleep inside trailer and kayaks in Anchorage, and then headed to yet another breathtaking camp, this time in the western side of the state on the infamous Kenai Peninsula.
Well, good morning, ladies.
Morning.
How was the first night inside a hard-sided trailer?
It was pretty good.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely not made for tall people.
No.
But you know what? We made do.
We did.
But what a view to wake up to.
Right?
Not too shabby.
Today, we're slowing our blistering pace to a crawl and taking a bit of a breath before taking on a couple more upcoming activities. So, our immediate agenda is to simply relax, test our kayaks, wet our fishing lines a bit, and maybe, just maybe, find a bit of gold in our pans later on. After a lazy start and a delicious breakfast, we were itching to start our very first kayak experience, and you couldn't ask for a more beautiful spot for our first time. So, with the sun beaming down, we headed to the water's edge to see if our little team of travelers would be game for this mode of transportation.
You're the one who can get it, right? Dad, have you ever went kayaking to summer camp?
I've never been in a kayak before. This is my first time.
I don't care, as long as I don't drown.
While some of us were more confident than others about this maiden voyage, it wasn't long before the fears were replaced with laughter again, as we quite literally took to kayaking like ducks take to water.
Let's go to that island and explore there, okay, Dad?
How are you so fast? Like, my arms are dead. All right, first time kayaking. I'm not terrible, but I'm also not great. It's super fun though. And we're out on the water. Look at those mountains behind me. So awesome.
While the fish didn't seem to be very interested in our offerings, the views more than made up for our lack of success. Plus, we had yet another exciting plan to put fish on the table, so we simply enjoyed the sun and soaked up the fact we were seeing Alaska in a new light from our waterborne vantage point. What do you think so far?
Pretty good.
Rain pants on the checklist, right?
Yeah.
I can't get out.
After a few hours of paddling around, it was time to head further down the peninsula for a one-night stay in an Airbnb to get our dwindling laundry freshened up and some real showers in preparation for the second half of our explorations. As we said goodbye to one of the most beautiful camps we've ever spent time in, we felt the bar being raised ever so slightly as a couple of locals showed up in one of Alaska's preferred modes of transportation for a lakeside picnic. Needless to say, we drove past with a bit of envy as we imagined what it must be like to travel around this massive land with a beautiful machine like that. But one adventure at a time, right? All right, well, good morning, folks. We are smelling much better, fresh, clean hair. Stopped in at this little spot last night, knocked out laundry. It's time to go again. And we're headed to one of our favorite haunts. And yes, technically now it is a haunt because this will be the
on Alaska, 1 north toward Burt Avenue.
second time that we've been there.
Holy moly.
Let's go to The Moose is Loose! We arrived to find that the Moose is Loose has changed hands and layout. We were a bit concerned at first, but after taking a look at the baked goods behind the glass, we were more than willing to give it a try. Oh my goodness. You gonna eat all that?
Yeah.
So what all we got in here?
So,
Custard milk donut.
Sprinkles, baklava, apple strudel, glazed cake, and blueberry fritter.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
We can always go to a grocery store and get some.
How's the blueberry?
Very good.
All right, ladies. How we doing after that?
Feeling sugared up. You could tell by my picture. I was like, and I hadn't even eaten any yet.
All right, fuel time and then on to camp. What do you girls think about this spot?
It's nice.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful, isn't it?
It's really pretty. And right on the creek.
All right, folks. Well, after that delicious breakfast and a bit of running around the Soldotna area, we've landed on camp. And you know us, rarely do we ever camp in a campground, but this one is special. We've come to this camp right here because after all of my research, I have found out that this creek right here behind us is the perfect place to pan for gold. And you can't come to Alaska without dipping your pan in the water and seeing what Lady Luck has buried in the mud for you. So let's go slop around in this creek and see if we can help pay for this trip. Ready?
Yes.
Let's do it. With an ample dose of coffee and sugar coursing through our veins, it was time to put that energy to work and see what glittering treasures this creek might hold. While we are amateurs, we're not complete strangers to gold panning and spent many hours on our first Alaska trip attempting to cure our gold fever. What are we doing?
Let me go, but don't tell anyone.
Like the vast majority of those who made the long trip to Alaska during the gold rush, we had very little yellow metal to show for our efforts. But it's not so much about the hopes for riches that keep us trying, it's really all about the experience shared with Caroline. As I explained again how panning works to separate the much denser gold from the gravel and mud, I found that she hadn't forgotten the method, and in fact, seems to have a natural talent for it. However, as with most 8-year-olds, the patience required for this type of endeavor is only partially developed. And it wasn't long before this old man's back, knees, and feet began to suggest other means of income. But not before finding just a hint of what Alaska holds somewhere deep within. And it's these little traces of color that keep me dreaming and trying again and again for something a bit bigger and a bit more shiny. I'm not gonna lie, I've often wondered what it would be like to stake my own claim and try my hand at gold mining. Oh well, it's best to leave some passions as hobbies and appreciate the memories we've mined from this land, which are worth far more than any old nugget. Even more than this one, which I got the privilege to hold at the Alaska Mint in Anchorage. This one-of-a-kind 8.5-ounce monster can be yours for only $35,000. Now I know some of you are going to be asking the question, why aren't you sleeping in the trailer? Well, being 6'3", I literally just fit. And that would actually be okay, except for the kitchen area that intrudes into the sleeping area will not allow me to put my feet straight up. So I have to sleep with my feet this way, curled up or whatever. So I'm going to stretch out in the tent. It's easy enough to set up. As a matter of fact, that's one of the things I really like about the iCamper is it is so simple to set up. And I've already got a lot of messages on Instagram and Facebook asking what our thoughts were on the iCamper, so stay tuned for a little bit more of that as we give it just a few more nights of trial and error.
Do you have 5?
No, go fish. Do you have an 8?
Go fish. Let's go get some fireworks.
After a couple days of a slower pace, we were rested and ready for the next big adventure here in the last frontier. Join us again next week as we put our kayaks to good use and get up close and personal with beautiful and wild Alaska. And if you like riding along on these travels, then please join these fine folks you see here in supporting our family's storytelling on patreon.com/lifestyleoverland. As a supporter, you can watch our extended episodes ad-free, get your questions answered, or maybe even find the perfect trail or campsite for your own adventure from our GPS archives. Patrons, you folks continue to amaze us with your support and encouragement. Without you, these stories simply wouldn't exist. Thank you for everything that you do. We'll see you next time, but until then, stay curious.